governance and policies of your organization enforced on that level. So whatever policy, whatever governance you are enforcing on that management group, that will be inherited. Okay. So if you see this diagram, we have this root management group, which is created by default when you buy any Azure subscription. So you can create a different departments. Like in this diagram, you have a human resource department. So in this human resource department, you have your subscription here. This key is the symbol of subscription. And you can also have sub management groups inside a single management group. So you can go up to 6 levels. Okay. In the hierarchy, you can go up to 6 levels. You can see we have 4 levels here. Okay. So we have this IT, we have this production, we have this management group called IT. This again, we have a sub management group called production. Under this sub management group, we have more categories of management groups for the geo region 1 and geo region 2, and under that we have different subscriptions. So if I enforce any policy here, this policy will be applied to all the subscription here. Okay. And the policy which is applied to here will be applied here. Any access controls which I want to give, any RBAC roles I want to give, that can be assigned at this level, and this subscription will automatically inherit all the policies and RBAC roles. Okay, is it clear? Okay.
Can you repeat once again, just a little about RBAC?
RBAC are the role-based access control rules, right? We have understood in the last class, right? You have the owner, contributor, reader roles, which you assign at the subscription level or the resource group level or at the resource level. I'll show you how that will work again. So these are certain points which you have to remember in terms of exam. Okay, if you are going for that. AZ 900 and AZ 103 or 104 will cover that exams also. So there are, you can have up to 10,000 management groups in your single directory. Okay. Directory is the active directory. Okay. So each management group and subscription can only support one parent. What I mean by that is, let's say you have a management group called production. So that production management group can only support one active directory, Azure Active Directory. You cannot have that management group in 2 active directories. Okay. And each subscription is supported by only one management group. Okay. As we understood, right, each management group can have a children also. This production is having a children management group called Geo Region 1. Okay. So management group 3 can support up to 6 level step. We can have up to 6 levels here, Okay. And this does not include the root level. Okay. This is not included. Okay. And the subscriptions are also not included. What I mean by this is, let's say in this we have 3. One is IT, other is production, and other is Geo Region 1. Okay. In similar way, in Geo Region 1, I can have Hyderabad as 1. In Hyderabad, I can have Toli Chowki as 1. In Toli Chowki, I can have Gulshan Conley as 1. So I can have 6 management groups. Okay. All subscriptions and management group will within a single hierarchy in each directory. Okay. Only one directory, you can have all those things. You cannot have them in multiple directories. Okay. So we'll go to management groups. We'll see what management groups are. Okay. So if you go to your Azure portal, you can search management group here. Okay. And you will see management group here. Okay. You can see I have created 2 management groups called management 1, management group 1 and management group 2. Okay. In this management group 2, I have assigned my subscription. Okay. If I go inside management 2 and if I click details, you can see, what I can do. So I have this management group name 2. Okay. My parent is the root tenant root, the root directory, what we spoke about, right? That is the root here. Under this root, we have this management 2. Okay. And here what you can do, you can give access control. Okay. If I give access control at this level, okay, I'll just go and add a role. I'll give this owner, and I'm selecting a user, any user in my directory. I'm selecting user 1, and I am giving him, assigning this role to this user 2. So now if I if I have any subscriptions here, if you can see, if I go to the root, you see this is Azure subscription 1, right? So this user 1 is by default given the role of owner to any subscription which comes within this management group. Okay. As of now, you only have one, you can have multiple. So by default, the user will automatically get the owner role. Okay. If I go here and check the role assignments, you know, you will, this user will get the owner role. Okay. So it is not enforced yet. It will come here. The user one will also come. Okay. In Azure, everything takes some time, but you will have that role also here. As we understood, we can also give roles at subscription level. Right now, I'm directly at the subscription. I can also add roles here directly. Okay. We discussed this last week. So you manage all the governance here. Okay? And you, yeah, someone was speaking something.
Okay. Like if anyone is any user is getting added to a management group, irrespective of which level he is getting added, he will by default become the owner of the subscription of the root group.
Yes, yes. Now I have given this owner this user.
Azure technologies, no.
Sorry. Now you see, I have given user one the owner role. Okay. For this management group. Okay, MG2. So later on stage, I get one more subscription. Okay. And I add that subscription to Azure Management Group 2. Okay. We have added one subscription, right? I want to add one more subscription here. Then automatically the user, user one will become owner of those subscriptions also. Automatically he will become, you did not do anything. Okay. So right now, if you can see in the root tenant, I have created two management group and I have one subscription. This subscription is not part of management group. I made a mistake there. So this is separate. This is not within this management group. But if I go and try inside the management, you will see nothing. Okay. If I click details, now I can add a subscription here if I want to. So I'll go here. It will not allow me to add, but let's see. So what I'm doing under this management group 2, I am adding my subscription which I have already.
No, but as per the previous thing, isn't it supposed to get added to the management group as well? Because the user is going to get added to the management group, right? So
yes, user is added to management group. I have added the subscription now, but I have assigned the role already. Okay. I just wanted to show you this. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah. So I created the user. We created the user first. We have assigned him the role first. Okay. Then I have added the subscription inside this management group. Okay. Now if I go to the hierarchy, you see the subscription is gone. Okay. Because the subscription is inside management group now. Previously it was outside. It was inside the tenant root, not in the MG2 root. Okay. Hello.
Basically, yes. The best practice would be the subscription would be under the management groups itself, right?
Yeah. No, it can also be inside the root tenant name. Okay. Okay. You can have that in the root tenant also. We had that already. Okay. This is the by default management group which is created. It is called tenant group, tenant root group. Okay. Under this, I have created one management group called one, other called MG2. Okay. And we had the subscription here inside this tenant. But what I have done, I went to MG2, I went into details and I added that subscription. I bought that subscription within my management group too. Okay. Now, if I go to the subscription, I go to access control. I should see user one here. Okay. because I have added user one, to become the owner of any subscription which is in this group. Okay, that should happen, and it will happen in some time. Okay, you can give access based on in the role. You can give assignments here, access control here. The other thing what you can do is you can define policies. Okay, we'll come to these policies in a bit. Okay, but I just want you guys to.
Will the same subscription be available for MG1 as well? Because we have MG1 as well, right?
No, it will not be available. You have to have a different subscription, because we understood, right? One subscription will support only one management group.
Asif, I'm a bit confused over here. It's like the management group is like nothing but like we have in our organizations like prod team kind of thing, or else like dev team kind of thing, or else we do subscription in the same way, or it's like
yeah, it depends. It depends. You can do in that way. You can do as per your companies. Let's take an example of any big company. What example you can take? Okay, let's take about Microsoft only. So in Microsoft, Microsoft gives you various products, right? It gives you Windows Server, it gives you SQL Server, it gives you BizTalk Server, everything. And you have geographical locations also. You have India, US, Middle East, and wherever Microsoft is available. So what you will do? So this will be the tenant group of Microsoft. Okay. Under Microsoft, what Microsoft will do is they'll create a management group called Microsoft. Okay, we'll create a management called Microsoft India. Okay, it doesn't support the. I think they should.
I mean, you mean to say that based on the project kind of thing as well?
Yeah, you can do that way also. So I created one more management group right now called Microsoft India. Okay. So in Microsoft India, you have various Microsoft offices in Gurgaon, in Bangalore, in Hyderabad. Okay, it takes some time, but it gets created. We'll assume that management group one is Microsoft India. We'll go details. We'll add another management group inside. We'll call this Microsoft India Hyderabad. Okay. So inside Microsoft India, I created one more management group called Microsoft Hyderabad. Okay. In similar way, I can also create one more management group called Bangalore. Okay. If I want to. Now what I do? Now I buy a subscription for Hyderabad office. Okay. So that subscription, I will have that inside the Hyderabad management group. Okay. I buy one subscription for my Bangalore office, and I have that subscription in the Bangalore office. Now you are from Bangalore office, so I want you to get owner role whenever any new subscription is added to Bangalore office. So you can have multiple subscription. Now what you can do is inside the Bangalore office, you are developing the software. So your organization Microsoft bought 3 subscriptions. One subscription is for development, one subscription is for UAT, another subscription is for production. Okay, but you should be the owner. So right now, what I have to the other way is I can go to each subscription, and I can assign you owner. Okay, but I don't want to do that. I want to have a management. So what I do, instead of doing it each subscription, I give you the owner role at the management group. I give you the role here, management group. So by default, you will get any subscription added to this group, you will become the owner, okay, of that group. Okay, and you also want to enforce policies. What is the policy? You are in Bangalore. So Microsoft has 3 data centers in India. One is in Mumbai, Pune, and Chennai. So as in your South India, you want to have a policy. Let's say anything created, any resource you are creating in Azure, you should only create in South India. You should not create in any other region. Okay, that policy can be enforced. We'll come to the policy now, but I hope you understood the management concept.
Yeah.
Okay. So I created 3 groups. Okay, this India is also there. So I can create one more management group called Microsoft US. Okay, in US I can have subgroups up to 6 levels. Okay, we created India, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. In Hyderabad also, we can create Gachibowli office. We can create, any other office if Microsoft has. Again, in that office, we can create building 1, building 2, building 3, or in production also, you can do similar. You have to just, based on your requirement, based on your organization, you can go with the taxonomy and you can create the management groups. These management groups only helps you if you are having more than one subscription, many subscriptions you are managing. A company can have more than, one subscription. We have a customer, they have like 13 subscriptions they have taken. And at that time, you can use this management group to, have the control and governance. If you are having one subscription only, then you do not require this management group at all. You can just directly go to the subscription. Like us, we have only one subscription, right? And I can manage all the, access control and policies from here directly. Okay, I have the policies and access control here. So I can manage both the things here. But what we are assuming is we are having more than one subscription and we wanted to manage that using Azure management group. Okay.
Can a management group have multiple subscriptions, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Management group can have multiple subscription, but all those things are associated only with single directory. This you have to understand. If you have more than one directory, then you will have more than one root group. Okay. As of now, we have only, as of now, we only have one directory. That is the reason you see only one root group. Our tenant ID is this. We only have one directory. This is the default directory we have, and this is the only one directory. But I can create a new tenant if I want to. Okay. Let's say, Microsoft wants to manage both India as well as USA differently. Okay. US users should be differently managed and India users should be managed differently. What they can do, they can create one more tenant. One tenant, they can call this as Microsoft India. Another tenant, they can call it as Microsoft USA. Then they will have two management groups. If you go to management group, then you will see, you are only seeing one tenant group here, right? Root group. Here you will see two, if you have two directories. Okay? Then inside that root, you will see two roots. Again, inside that root, you will have management groups. Okay. So one management group can be associated only with one tenant ID. So tenant. It cannot be, you cannot have the same management group. Microsoft India cannot support US at the same time and cannot support India at the same time. They will only support India.
But how about subscriptions? Can a subscription have?
No, subscription will be at the management group level only. Okay. You cannot have, I have MG1 has this subscription, right? I cannot move this subscription to, I cannot have the same subscription to in different group. I can only move it from one tenant group to another tenant group.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's say I want to move it from MG1 to MG2. I can do that. From MG2, I'm moving it to MG1. I can move this, but I cannot have them, in the same, same subscription in both the groups at a time. I cannot do that. I can have them only in one group. So now my subscription will move here. Okay, it is here. You can see. It is in MG1. Yeah.
See, for example, if the subscription levels is like, for example, Office 365 we subscribed, right? And we are giving that to management 1. Even Office 365 is also in my organization. I want to use it for MG2 also. So I have to subscribe Office 365 to services twice.
No, we are talking about only Azure subscription here, not about Office 365.
Like, okay, Azure subscription.
Office 365 will be at the tenant level only. Okay, it is not there at the management group level. Okay.
All right.
Office 365 is completely different. Okay, this we are talking about only Azure subscription here. Management groups help you manage. Sorry for that. Management groups help you manage only Azure subscription, not Office 365 subscription.
Okay, Azure subscription, what we have taken right now in this example, we have just moved from MG2 to MG1. Then MG2 will lose that properties.
Yeah, no.
They cannot use it anymore.
No, it will not. You see, MG2 is not having. Now what happens? All the policies which were there in MG2 and MG2, right? And they were assigned to the subscription. But now what happened? I have moved to MG1, right? Now all the policies of MG1 will apply to Azure this subscription. automatically.
And what about the groups that are subgroups that we created under MG1, like
Those groups are
Microsoft
already,
Hyderabad?
those groups will already there. Nothing will happen to them. If you move them
So
also,
will
then
they?
if
No,
you
will
move
they
them,
also inherit this?
yes, they will inherit the parents. This is MG. Let's say I'm going to MG2. I'm going to details. Okay, I am in MG2. Okay. I don't have here, right? I'll go to MG1 only. Okay. So right now, if I go to MG2, MG1 is the parent. Okay. MG1 is the parent. In MG parent, I am having a children called sub management group 1. Okay. Okay. This is the child, children. MG1 is the parent and this is the child. So now I go to MG1 directly, and if I assign any policy or RBAC role here, this child will inherit that. Okay. Automatically they'll inherit. Even if it's child or a subscription, it will inherit. Okay.
Okay.
What else you can do is, yeah.
Regarding the tenant root group, I would want to ask a question for that. Like by default, we get a tenant root group, right?
Yes.
So in an organization, how many root groups do they have? Like
with
normally,
a single,
like this?
They'll have only one. Okay, I have not seen, in my experience, I have not seen anyone having more than one tenant group, but there may be possibility you'll come across where you will have, more than one tenant group. To be honest, so I have not seen any. In my experience, I have not seen it.
Normally, it will be one tenant root group, and then they'll have multiple management groups, and they'll manage it like that.
Yes, but that also you will see managed group only when you have a big customer and they have multiple subscriptions. Okay, then only they'll use this. If they are having 1 or 2 subscriptions, they will directly manage that at the subscription level because less of administrative efforts. But if you have more than 1 or 2, you have like 4 or 5, then you go and manage RBAC roles at all the levels. Then that is an hectic task. That is where you use the management group. Okay. Or else, then only you do that. Let's say you are a big IT company, you are using a subscription. Each subscription is used for different projects. Let's say you're a consulting firm and you manage your company's customer subscription. Okay. So what you can do, you can create management group for all your customers, customer A, customer B, and customer C, and you can manage their subscriptions in that way also. It depends on use case to use case what you want to achieve. Okay. The only thing you have to understand is these are used to enforce compliance and access policies. That is the important thing you have to understand. Okay. And you can have up to 6. You may get a question, how many levels Microsoft management group, Azure management group supports. You have to say 6 levels. Okay. So this was about management groups. You can create a management group here. You can just go give the name and save it. Let's create a third management group. Just say MG3, and I create it, and it gets created. So once it's created, you will see it here. You will see the name and the ID and the management group and the owner. You are the owner. And if you go inside, if you go click details, then you can see the overview of that, and you can see the access policies and all those things. And you can also see the cost at that management group level. What is the cost you are occurring for all those subscriptions? So I have only one subscription. So you will see cost of my subscription here. I have one subscription.
So for every management group, we need to add a subscription, right?
Yeah.
So would that be a cost factor for us? I mean, can't we manage with one subscription to all the management groups?
Why will you create management group if you have only one subscription? You will not create that. Management group is used only if you have multiple subscriptions. To manage multiple subscriptions, you will create management groups. If your organization is huge, like Microsoft or Amazon or Google, then you will definitely have multiple subscription to manage cost, to access policies, and for compliance purpose. You are in Europe, you have to be compliant to GDPR. By default, you have to be. So how will you do that? So you will create a management group for a user, and you will have all those policies enforced in that group. Okay. For management, you will understand this more once we go to.
Okay.
We understood about this root directory also, right? So by default, each directory will have a single root management group, and this is called as tenant management group, and you can also change it in if you want. Okay. Now we are talking about Azure policies. So what is Azure policy? Azure policies helps you enforce governance. Okay. You can enforce governance at the subscription level and as well as at the resource group level. Okay. So we understood about subscription. Again, under subscription, you have resource group also. Okay. So there are a lot of policies are already built in. Okay. But you can also code custom policies. These are created in JSON format. So if you are well versed with JSON, you can create your own custom policies also, and you can assign them to your scope. Scope can be subscription or a resource group. Okay. So we'll go to policies quickly. So I will show you policies at a resource group level first, how you can do. If I go to my resource group, I have one resource group created, RG called DIRG. Okay. So I am going to the resource group. First, I want you guys to understand one thing clearly. Let me open a notepad. Okay. So you have your tenant name, right? Tenant is the ID. Tenant, what you get. This is nothing but your Azure AD, Active Directory. Okay. Under this AD, you can create management groups if you want to. Okay. In management group, you will have your subscriptions. Okay. Under the subscription, you have your resource group. Okay. Under this resource, you have your resources. Resources are nothing but the Azure services, what you're talking, whatever you use. Okay. This is how Azure manages everything. Okay. This is optional. Okay. You may have it or you do not require it. It is up to you. Okay. We will remove it in our case. You can have it also if you want. Now what you can do, you can have access controls at this level. Okay. And you can have policies also at this level. Okay. You can have access control and policies at this level. You can have access controls and policies at this level. You can only have access controls at this level. You cannot have policies at the resource group level. So this is the hierarchy you have to understand. Okay. Okay. And you buy Azure subscription inside a tenant. Okay. When I talk about tenant, this is the default thing what Microsoft gives you whenever you buy any Microsoft product. Under this, you buy your Azure subscription. Okay. Under this, you buy your Microsoft Office 365 subscription. You buy your M365 subscription. You buy your Dynamics 365 subscription. So whenever you buy anything, so Microsoft will give you a default directory. Okay. But if you want more than one directory also, you have that option to buy. So whenever you create user, the user is created here. And these users will be consistent for all the subscriptions what you buy. Okay. So you have to understand, this is little confusing, but you guys have to be clear. You have to understand this. Okay. Whenever you create user, those users can be given access to any of the resources. But by default, they will not be given any access. You have to go and give them. How will you give them? You will give them at the Azure subscription. You can give at them Azure subscription level. Okay. You can give them at resource group level. You can give them at resource level. We are talking in terms of Azure only. We are not talking about Dynamics 365 or M365. Okay. So let's not get confused with all those products. So you have to understand, this is only needed when you have more than one subscription to manage. Okay. So what you can do, I'm just repeating it again. So I created a management group. I can create management group 1, management group 2, management group 3. Then I can have, okay, the policies directly get inherited from here. Okay, I can assign policies here. Okay, I can give them, and in here I will have my subscriptions. Okay, I can give sub 1, sub 2. These are my subscriptions. So whenever I give access controls and policies to a management group, so these are automatically assigned to the subscriptions. Okay, I hope this was clear. So now we are talking about policies, Azure policies. Okay, you can assign these policies. What you assign in management group is different, but Azure policy is different. Okay, these policies can be assigned at Azure subscriptions and at resource group level. You can assign that here. Okay, so when I assign these policies at resource group level, so anything happening in that group, resource group, must be compliant to this policy what we are creating. So what we will do, we will create a policy now. Okay, I have gone to the resource group. Okay, I created a resource group. We'll create a resource group in a while. I have created a resource group, and I'm going and assigning the policy here. So what I want to assign, I want to assign a policy. Okay, stating that what allowed locations. Okay, okay. So I am selecting a policy which states the allowed locations. What are the locations where resources can be created? So I select this. Okay. So I selected the policy, right? We have allowed locations. Okay. Now I am giving a description. You can give description. I'll leave it. It is enabled. Now I'll go next. Now I have to define which locations are allowed. So for this policy, I have selected West India region. These are all the regions, data centers of Microsoft. Okay. I selected West India. I'll leave that and I'll create. Okay. Now this policy is assigned to this resource group. Okay. Now what happens if I go to this resource group? Okay. Let me add a resource here. So I'll try to create a Windows Server machine. In a different region. I'll create this. I'll call it VM1. Okay. Let it be a small machine. I'll give a RDP password. Don't worry what I'm creating. I just want you guys to show you one thing. I'll go to disk. I'll select by default everything. So I'll just pause this. I'll try to create. So what should happen here? You see it is failed. Okay. Why has it is failed? Anyone can answer?
Yeah, because the region we select was not the policy.
Not allowed. Yeah. So now this is where you enforce. So you created a policy which states that you have to create that in West India region only. You cannot create it in East India. So this is how you use policies. Okay. So let me go to that resource group again. Okay. So I'll go to this resource group and I'll go to the policy. So you have lot of inbuilt policies. So Microsoft has lot of policies which are already created for you. You can see whether I'm compliant or not. So you can see I'm non-compliant because I tried to create one VM which was there in East US. So there are a lot of built-in policies. If you go and check here, as of now, right now, Microsoft has 477 policies which are already there. So most of your requirements will already be there. But if you want to create, you can create your customs also. We'll create that also. Okay. So you see, you can go now. You want to allow certain kinds of VM, okay, to be only selected. Okay, certain types of virtual machines you want them to create. So these are all the virtual machines types which you have in Microsoft. So I want my users to only create D series machines. So I can select these policies and I can create. So they will not allow, Microsoft will not allow me to create any other virtual machine with any other machine series. Okay, I can only select these machine types which are available. Whatever I want to give, I can select that. So in this way you manage everything. Okay, you do not want your users to sign up, start a big machine which will give you cost. So that's how you restrict. You give them basic things, basic machines only, and you allow those machines only. So when they create machines with this machine type only, it will allow them to create. If they try to create with any other, Microsoft will not allow. Okay, so this is how you use the policies. So we have done this at the resource group level. Okay, we have enforced these policies at resource group level. Let me go and delete that policy. Otherwise, I will face problems. Okay, I can successfully go ahead and delete these policies also. Okay. Now let me go to the subscription. So similarly, as at resource group level, I can go one more level up and I can create policies here. So it is here where you define the policy also. If you want to create a custom policy, you can define this definition also. So before we do that, let me go to policies. So now what I'm doing, I'm assigning the same allowed policy at the subscription level. Okay. So I'm saying at subscription level, what are the locations I want to enable. Okay. I can do that at the subscription level also. I did at the resource group level, same policy I'm doing at subscription level. So let's say we have one subscription for Hyderabad, India region. We want all those users from India region to have their resources only in India, in Azure. So you will go and assign this policy at the subscription level. Okay. And you can take that. I'll go and I'll select West India regions, whatever are the India regions. There are 3 regions in India. I can select the geography or I can select this 3 and I click next and I can give that. Okay. So you see these are the list allowed locations. Whenever they say India, that only is allowed. Otherwise it is not allowed. I will not create policy, but I just want you guys to understand. So there are other policies also. If you just go and see whatever policies you have available, if you have a walkthrough, you see audit virtual machines without disaster recovery configured. If you have machines configured without disaster recovery, this policy will audit those machines. Okay. Azure backup should be enabled for virtual machines. So if you are creating a virtual machine, if you do not enable Azure virtual backup, you will not, that machine will not be created. Or else what happens when you enforce this policy, whenever you create a virtual machine, Azure backup has to be configured. Okay. You have a lot of policies.
So, but that Azure backup is like kind of, would that come in the same subscription kind of thing, or else like that would be an additional cost?
No, it is as of now, see, anything associated with Azure is of cost. Okay. All the services will cost you.
Even if you select the policy of creating VM in the zones kind of thing in India zone.
Yeah, so even in India zone, it will cost you, right, to run a virtual machine. That is only you are enforcing. They cannot create it some any other region except India, but cost is associated. Okay, this policy will help you create only in India, not in Dubai, not in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia there is no data center. In Singapore or in Australia or in Europe, only India you can create. Similarly, you can have same policy defined for your subscription which is there in Europe. So they will create only in Europe because you have to be compliant to GDPR, right? So any resources created for your European customers or European users, that should only get created in Europe. So you can define those policies. So you have lot of policies already built in. Okay. So you do not require to create, custom policies. Most of the policies are already there. Okay. So you can go through all these policies in Azure.
One more dot over here. It's like, how would we know the charge of the policy if we apply something like
the policies are so free of, policy is not chargeable. Policy is only enforcement of rules.
Okay.
Okay. What are you charged on? You are charged on your Azure resources.
Okay. So while creating up only, we will come to know that the charge of this one has extended due to this one.
Yes. See, management group will not cost you anything. Azure subscription by default will not cost you anything until unless you provision resources. Okay. Cost is on the resource group. 1 second, guys. So charges are based on only on the Azure resources, not on the resources what you run. So when you create a virtual machine, only it will charge you. Okay. I hope this is clear till policy. Okay. The next thing we'll understand is Azure Logs. Okay, what is logs? So this log features, what it does is, it helps you from accidentally, if you are deleting anything or modifying any critical resource, it will help you get over it. It will help you do that. So how can you do that? You can set logs, cannot delete or read only. Okay. So in what I mean by cannot delete it, it means the users can still read and modify the resource, but they cannot delete the resource. Okay. You are an administrator. Okay. You should not accidentally delete it as the resource. So if as a global admin, as a owner of the subscription, I will go and assign that lock to the resource group or to the resource. Okay. You as a system administrator come and try to delete that, it will not allow you to delete. Okay. But if I give you cannot delete, you can modify the resource. You can change the resource. You can change the virtual machine. You can change the disk size. You can change the VM instance type, but you cannot delete it. But if I give you read only, you cannot delete or you cannot update. You can just read. Okay. We'll go to that. We'll see live example. So I'll go to home. Now I'll go to my storage account, and you will see lock here. Now I'll add a lock. Now you see I have read only and delete. I'll say delete. I'll name it anything, delete lock. You can name anything, and I click OK. So now this lock is assigned. Okay. Now if I try to go and delete this resource, anything inside this, I will not go. This is my website is running on this. So if I try to go and delete it, it will not allow me to delete. So it will fail because I cannot delete. I can modify it, but I cannot delete it. Okay. So this will help you, this will safeguard if someone is trying to delete your resources. Okay. Being a company, you will give this access to multiple people, right? So you as a super admin, the global admin, you will place this lock. Okay. And this will not allow users to delete the resource group. If you want them to delete, they can just go ahead as administration. If you go and if I have deleted the lock, but if I now and I try to go and delete the container, it will delete it. But I will not delete this because my website is hosted on this, on the storage account. So if I delete this, my website will be gone. So this is how you understood about locks, right? So you can safeguard from the deleting, accidental delete. And there are certain users you do not want them to modify. You can also have a lock called read only lock. So this will not, this lock, what it will do is, this will, if you I am assigning to do this storage account. Okay. This is the storage account what I have created. Okay. Sorry, this resource group. Okay. And in this storage account, I am assigning this lock. Okay. When I assign this lock read only, the users will only read. They will not even able to update it. Okay. Your project is done. You do not want any changes to be made to that, to that resources, whatever you have provisioned. So then at that time, you can go and give this lock read only. So what happens? People can go and read only. They cannot modify it, update it, and delete it. Okay.
So the lock only, the lock is applied to the resource group, right?
Yeah, it is applied to the resource. I'm doing at the resource level at the storage account. But if you want to apply that at resource group level also, you can do it. Okay. Now I am at the resource group. Okay. Previously I done at the storage account. This is the resource. Okay.
Yeah.
I did at the resource. Okay. You can apply at the resource level. You can apply it at resource group level. Okay. But there is no lock feature at the subscription level. You cannot do it at subscription level. Okay. Even if I go and click locks here, resource lock, it will take me to the resource group level only. Okay. So this is about the locks. The other important feature in management.
So when you assign the read-only lock on the resource group, so the members of that resources will not be able to like spin up any environments or anything like that.
No, they will not be able to do any change or modification or update onto that resource group.
So if you want them to be able to spin up new environments and work, but not delete the existing,
then you have to give them delete lock.
Cannot delete, right?
Yeah, cannot delete the delete lock. You have to give them the delete lock. You don't give them read only, you give them delete lock. So they will not be able to delete, but they can do anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah. So this is about lock. The other important feature is tagging. So what this tagging is, this is nothing but the taxonomy you give to your resources. So this creates a metadata. Okay. So what you do whenever you create a resource in Azure or resource group, you tag them. Okay. How you do so this is a name. You'll have two things when you create a tag. One will be the name of the tag, another is the value pair. Okay. For example, if I am creating a tag called environment, okay, and I am giving the value pair as production. So I can create whenever I create a VM. Let's say I'm having only single subscription where I'm managing my both production, testing, as well as development. How I differentiate the costing is using the tagging. Okay. So what I do, I create a name called environment, and I'll give them value pair as production. I give them value pair as testing. I give them value pair as UAT and development. I can tag that. Tagging will not help you do anything, just to see what is happening, where this resource belong to. It will not enforce any, what you say, policies or restrictions or anything. This is only give you billing sense at that tag level. Okay, we'll go to the tag. I'll go to create. Let me create a storage account. So now I'm creating a storage account. I'll just go ahead and create quickly, okay? But we'll talk about this later. So I'm just creating. Okay, they should be all lowercase. So I'm creating a demo storage account. I am creating in India. We'll understand what is this LRS, DRS later stages. So now you see tags here. So what I do, I give the naming convention here. I go to environment, I'll give environment, I'll say prod. Okay. So now I am creating this storage account for the environment production. So this is only the naming convention. You can have that here and you can go ahead and create. I can review and I can create. So it is giving me as tag as production storage account. So this is only the naming convention, used taxonomy. Why it is used here? So this is the next step. We talked about cost and management, right? If I go to cost, so this is one more service in Azure where you can manage, where you can see the cost associated with all your subscriptions. Okay, you can see this is my billing account where I am managed. If I go to this, so this is I was having free trial then I got developer support also, which I removed later on. So I can see all the things here, manage my cost, what is, what cost is associated. So you can see my subscription is in under management group 1. I did not do anything. It has by default taken me to that group, and you can see all the cost which is associated with my thing. Now, if I want to view the, I can add filters, and I can see at the tag level, and I want to see, what is the cost for my, this resource group. I can see all those tags here. I can view billing at the tag level also. I have nothing created in the tag. I can see all the costs associated. I have no value created. These are the tags which are there, and I can see the cost associated. So tags will be useful for that only, nothing else, just to view the cost based on the environment. Okay. And this cost and billing management will help you see all the cost, what is associated with your billing scope. So if you have multiple subscriptions, you will see all those multiple subscriptions here. And inside the subscription, you can see, under what are subscriptions you have. I have 2 subscriptions. And if I go to cost management and cost analysis, I can see the cost associated with with that particular subscription. And I can also create budget and cost alerts if I want to. Okay. Let's say I want to create a budget, which says my cost does not increase, certain amount. I can create that budget alert also. So these are the basics which are there in every service provider. So this will send you an email when, let's say, your cost is increasing more than 10,000. You can create alerts. You can give this to your finance team. So whenever the cost is above 1,000, which is reaching 1,000, they will get an alert. Okay. So this is at the management group scope. I can create a different scope also. I can select and you can do that. We are seeing this management group because we have already created them. Okay. You can change the scope and create the alerts here. So this was about the cost and management. This is basic thing which is there for management only. The other important feature which you have to understand is the platform logs, what Microsoft gives you. So logging is the big thing you have to understand. So in Microsoft, you get detailed diagnostic and auditing information for all your Azure resource. Okay. So there are 3 types of logs which you get. Okay. So one is you get the Azure Active Directory logs. So these Azure Active Directory logs, then you have the Azure Activity logs, and you have the resource logs. Okay. So this diagram will help you understand where are these logs generated. So when you see the Active Directory logs, these are generated at the tenant level. Okay. Because Active Directory, we understood, right? Active Directory is associated at the tenant level. So any things which we have done on the Active Directory, you will see those in the Active Directory logs. Any activity done on the subscription, you will see in the activity log. And any changes done at the resource, you will see at the resource logs. Okay. So Azure AD logs, we said it is done at the Active Directory level, and these logs are the tenant level. You can see them on the tenant layer. And then you have activity logs. These activity logs, provides you insight at the subscription level events. What happened in your subscription? If you want to go and see, you can see that in the activity log. And these are generated at the subscription level, and all these logs are automatically generated. You cannot change them or delete them. Okay. Let's say you did a mistake. You accidentally deleted the VM, and you cannot go and tell I did not do that. Your username will be there. You know who has deleted all the resource things will be there for auditing purpose. Okay. And with activity logs, you can see what operations were taken on the resource in your subscription. You can see who started those operations, what operations occurred, the status of the operations, values of other properties. Everything can be seen. You will see certain logs. And other are the resource logs. These are the at the data plane. At the resource level, you can see these logs. Okay. So first we'll go to Active Directory. So at the Active Directory also you can view audit logs. So whatever it is done, you can see all those logs here, here in detail. So it will show you a user by name Asif, okay, delete user. Someone has deleted the user. Someone created a workflow. Someone updated the user. Okay, someone added the user. Someone updated the user. So you can see all these logs. These are Active Directory logs. Okay. So you can see the logs here. If I click any log, if I want to see, and if I so you can see the activity type is delete user. So user has been deleted. Okay, and you can see it's hard delete. Okay. Is it hard delete? No, it is a soft delete. Okay. So you can see all these activities here. So this is about the Active Directory logs. If I go at the subscription, okay, I have the activity log here at the subscription level also. So who has done what on my subscription, I can see. So I am the only user here. You can see I validated a deployment. Okay, we tried to create a storage account. We created a delete management account. I tried to create a storage account. I deleted the block container. I tried to delete it, did not happen. Okay, it's giving me the alerts, the activity here. So I see whatever I have done in my subscription, you will see the initiated by who has done it. Okay, and you will see what they have done it, the operation, whether it was success or failed, on the time when they did it, the date, at what level they have done it. If you have different subscriptions, you can see the subscriptions, various subscriptions here. Okay, so you can see that at the activity log. Similarly, the other thing is you have this activity log I am at the storage account level. You have the activity log at the resource level also. So who has done what on the resource, you can see. So I created a delete management log, and I also added a log. It was succeeded. I tried to delete the container, it failed. So it's giving me the working understanding. The other important feature, what you can do is you can take this log, you can download these logs, and you can go into any SIEM tool like Splunk or anything. I can download these logs as a CSV file, and I can upload those logs into a SIEM tool, and I can view that Splunk or any other thing. Microsoft has its own product called Azure Sentinel that also can be used to do the analysis. You want to do analysis of your environment, log analysis, that can be done using the Azure subscription. Sorry, the logs. So you have three types of logs. So one is the Azure AD log, the activity log at the subscription level, and the activity log at the resource level. Okay. Any questions still here? Okay. The other way you can see the activity logs also is here. It gives you the overview of all the logs which are happening, and I can go and see the activity logs for here also. Okay, these are the subscription level. If I go and select the date and month, I can do that. From last month, I can see whatever has happened. So let's say you were attacked, something happened, some unfortunate event happened, and you want to see who has done that. You can take that time, you can download this as CSV file, and you can upload this into any scene, and you can query the data. If you are aware of Splunk, you can do that. You can take Splunk, you can create a dashboard of all these activity logs. So it gives you the overview, what has happened. Everything can be done. 1 second. So you can see the operations, everything can be done. Who has deleted the user? You can view. You can take all these logs. You can download them as CSV, and you can get them into any SQL to do the analysis. So this is more of an system administration task done either at the security level. So for security purpose, you should have this, and for audit purpose also if necessary, both for internal as well as for external audit. So this is about the governance things what you have in Microsoft. So any questions still here? Okay. I assume there is no questions. So now what we'll understand is about the next concept is virtual machines. Okay. But before we go to virtual machines, I want you guys to understand another important, I have not created this slide for that. Another important concept is our resource manager. Okay. From here onwards, what I will do is, I will direct you guys to certain portals, which I want you guys to have a look at it, because this is very much necessary for all your exams. The other important part I wanted to tell you guys is, before we move on, this course what I am covering is right now will give you knowledge to appear for 2 exams. Okay. One is Easy 900. This is the entry level exam of Microsoft. This is a very good easy exam. Okay. You can see this, my course will definitely help you in clearing this, but this requires a lot of practice. This is the administrator exams. So you need to know how to manage and subscription and Azure resources, which we have learned till now. You need to know how to implement and manage storage. You need to deploy and manage virtual machines. You need to configure and manage networks, and you need to know identities. So we have covered till now, we have covered these 2. We have covered the Azure subscription and resource, and we have covered identities. Identities is nothing but identical access management. And we will also be covering virtual machines today and tomorrow. And then we'll be covering virtual networks and storage. Finish that. Backup and DR are not part of the exam, so you can leave that, but I will be adding that to more.
Asif, I think your screen is not sharing or something, or is it only me who's lost your screen?
Oh, yeah, my screen is shared. Everyone is able to see my screen,
No,
right?
we cannot see your screen, sir.
No. Yeah, we cannot see the screen.
Because when you were talking about the AZ900 test and other things, I believe you were trying to show us the screen, but
okay,
we had lost your screen already by then.
Okay, give me 1 minute. I'm so sorry for that. So now you can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can see.
So these are the 2 exams, Easy 900. This is the fundamental exam. Okay. I will tell you how you can appear for this exam for free of cost. Okay. If you go to India, the cost will be like 3,000 something, 3,000. But there is a way you can take this voucher and you can do it for free. So this will cover, basic concept of cloud, what is cloud computing, the deployment model and service model. Okay. And this will also cover the core services. Core services are nothing but the core, the compute, storage, database and network. Okay. Then it will cover the security and privacy and compliance and trust, which we have seen right now, right? The management group and all those things. That will cover it. And it will cover the pricing SLA. So if you go to Azure Calculator, you will see all the pricing and how you can calculate the price. Everything can be seen here. I will not advise you guys to go for this exam. If you are a pure salesperson, then this exam is good for you. If you are not a salesperson, then I don't think so this exam is good for you. Okay. The other exam you should try is for sales or pre-sales. Azure 900 is good. If your focus is more on technical, then start with Azure AZ103. AZ103, last day to take is 31st August. Okay. So if you are preparing within 1 month and if you are trying to write the exam before 31st August, you can go for AZ103. So my course will help you, other little hard work will help you clear this exam easily. But if you are planning to take it after some time, then you have to go with AZ104. The only thing which you are not covering in this course is about in the container service, in the compute service, you have containers here. Okay, so that we are not covering in the exam. Apart from that, we have bought monitor and Azure backup resources. We have bought in this course also. If we are doing in the last day of the course, we will do this backup and monitor. The only thing which we are not covering is the compute. In the compute resource, we are not covering containers, Azure Container Service. That's the only thing which we are not covering. But I advise you guys to get this prepared and go for 103 directly if you are doing it before 31st August. Okay. Because on 31st August, the cost is, I think it's 4,000 rupees. If you include GST, it will be like 5564. 4,800. So 18% GST is there. It will cost you 5,664 rupees per exam. Okay. So lot of this. Another thing what I advise is to take a lab exam from WizLabs. If you go to WizLabs, their practice exam is very good. If you take this practice exam of Azure, if you go and type AZ103, you will have their exam there. So if you are able to get this also, that will be good. This cost is associated, but they have their free 15-question exam. But you also have their other exams where you get up to at 700 rupees to get the practice exam. So if you prepare these questions, you will definitely pass the exam. You will get more score also, and you will also understand the topics very clearly. So I advise these two things. You take this and take this course and do the practice exam. Okay. So these were the exams which were covering 103 and 900. Okay. Yeah. So we'll go back to the course. Microsoft, every cloud platform has their management service. How you manage the resources, how you deploy the resources. Every cloud provider has their own services. In Azure, that is done using Azure Resource Manager. Okay. So Azure Resource Management, deployment and management service of Azure. Okay. So whatever we have done in the practical side, we created all those services, all those things is managed in the behind by Azure Resource Manager. Okay. If I write to providers, okay, you do not worry what is provided or not. You can see all these service provider offerings which Microsoft has. You can see all those services in there. You can go and see in the marketplace. You can see all the services what Microsoft is giving you. So all those are managed using Azure Resource Manager. Okay. There is nothing to learn about it, but you have to understand how the management happens. So it gives you management where anything you create, update, delete, it is in behind done by the Azure Resource Manager only. Okay. So how you can access this Resource Manager? We are accessing the Resource Manager via portal. Okay. You can do it using Azure PowerShell, and you can do it using Azure Resource CLI. Okay. My advice for you guys is to learn Portal and Azure CLI. You can leave Azure PowerShell. If you are a Windows administrator, then you already know PowerShell. It will be easy for you. But these days, PowerShell is like little, at the backside. Focus more on Azure CLI, because the CLI of Azure or AWS and Google Cloud is similar. So if you learn one CLI, you will be able to learn the other one. You will be able to at least understand how the CLI works. I'll just give you an example. Let me open PowerShell. So I have logged into PowerShell. If now I want to log into Azure, I just do easy login. It will ask me to, it will open a web browser, and it will ask me to sign in. So whatever I want to manage from my environment, I can manage using this PowerShell. I have opened PowerShell, but I'll not be running PowerShell commands. I'll be running the Azure CLI commands. Okay. Now it has signed in, and it is asking me to sign in. So now I give my password. Let me not sign into this. So now I have successfully logged in. So once I log in, you can see it will say success. It will give my cloud name, my tenant ID, subscription, the username which I logged in. Okay, I can log in. What I can do is, I have noted down few commands to help you guys. I'm creating a resource group. Okay, you don't worry what the commands are, but I'm just saying you can create the resource group in that way, and you can create the resource group using the PowerShell CLI also, because you can see this is success. If I go to my subscription, if I go to resource groups, you will see that resource group very soon here. Okay. The other way you can create the resource group is I'm telling about the resource management, how the resource management works. So I'll take this name only. I'll say resource group 1. So we created this in 1 second. East US. I'll also create this in East US. And I can say create. So now I'm creating a resource group. Under resource group, we have different resources. So you can see we created resource group 2 through this command, right? So now you can see it is created in my Azure portal. You can see resource 2 is created. If we wait for some time, resource 1 will also be there. PSF demo 1 will also be there. So this is how you create, you can create resources using the portal, the easiest way, okay? And the other way is you create using the Azure CLI, okay? You can also create using PowerShell, but I will not advise you to learn that. But I will advise you to learn at least how to create basic things in with the CLI. You understand how you log in, how to create a resource group, how to create a virtual machine. Everything you can learn using the CLI. Because this CLI will help you doing, with the resource management. You can create templates, okay, which are nothing but these commands, and you can run those templates whenever you want to. Just changing the name for automation purpose, you can do that. Okay, you will hear this term automation a lot in the industry. How is it is done? This is nothing but the infrastructure as a code. You are implementing the infrastructure using a code. This is not a code, but they call it as a code. Okay. Let me refresh. You will see the demo 1 also created. We created this 2 resource groups. So you can also delete that resource group using those commands. Okay. You can do that. It will ask you yes. I say yes. You can manage. So how you guys can learn about this? You just type in Azure CLI. Go to overview documents, and you install for whatever machine you are using. I am using Windows. I can just go and install this. It will download the latest release, and you just run it. Right click, left click. It will get downloaded. And if I want to, it is deleting. If I want to see the version also, I just sign. I think the latest version is 2.9. So whenever you can upgrade also. So upgrade is also similar. You just come and run it. It will upgrade. So you can install all these licenses. So CLI, you can see the version by running this command. So you can learn all these commands. You can log in. So we will learn slowly how we create a virtual machine. Right now from here, whatever we will create in the portal as well as in the CLI, if the time permits us. But you can learn it on your own. Okay.
Asif, I have a question.
Yeah.
So now if we go ahead and check in the logs, will it specifically show that that particular resource was created using CLI or Azure portal?
Let us check that.
I don't think so.
I have
it says the created but.
So I updated the resource group. So is it showing anywhere CLI?
We have created PSF2, I guess.
Okay, PSF2, right? Yeah. So it will show you that we have created a resource group name. Okay. So you see this HTTPS code 201. To check this code 201. Okay. And you check this code 201. So it has done all the HTTP thing only. It will not show us whether you have done it using a CLI or Azure portal. Okay. It will not show. It will only show what has done. It will not show how it is done. Because we are not worried how it is done. We are only worried whether it is done or not. Okay. It will not show. Yeah. Okay. So it will show us, who has done it, how they have done it. That is actually not required also, but we have to just check how it is done, whether it is done or not. How it is done, we can leave that. Okay. So it will not show. It will only show whether it is done or not. Okay, but it has shown that it is done a minute ago and 3 minutes ago it is done. Now if I go here, it is done, it is deleted. And I can also check my version. What version I'm running, I can see that. Okay. So it is showing that I'm running the latest version. I just upgraded in the morning today. I was having 2.1.9. It was reversed. I just upgraded in the morning. So you can do that. Okay. So this is about Azure CLI. Okay. Now let's start with the good topic is about virtual machines. Okay. So if you go to Azure Virtual Machines, so Azure will allow you to create Windows as well as Linux machines. You cannot create Unix machines. Okay. You can only create Linux and Windows machines. Okay. Microsoft will allow creating Windows and Linux machines, and they have lot of machine types. Okay. If you go to Azure VMs instance types, you will see what are the instance types and series which are available for you. Okay. So there are a lot of
Azure will not allow creating Unix is it only for the demo reason, or is it like even if you are a paid customer, you don't have that facility?
No, there is no cloud vendor that gives us in Unix machines as of now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even Azure, even in AWS. Only IBM gives you their IBM AIX, but AWS, Google Cloud, or Oracle or Microsoft Azure, they will not allow you to launch Unix machines. Only IBM does that because IBM has their AIX Unix machines, right? So for those customers who have already taken AIX, they will give them dedicated host. They will not give them virtual machines. They'll give them a physical machines of that. Okay.
I believe AWS provides Solaris as well, right?
I am not sure about that. Let's check. It's not there. I'm going to cloud. To my knowledge, I don't know. They are giving this Oracle Solaris. Huh? So this is not AWS. This is their partners thing. Open source you can connect doing Amazon service. Yeah, they are giving that, but through a partner, not directly through Amazon E-Series. You can have that in the dedicated machines. That way. And this is the only.
This is not going to be a VM.
Yeah, no. Okay. So you have, thanks for letting me know that. Yeah. So you have, these are the series which Microsoft offers. You have the A series. These are economical entry level, usually used for testing purpose. And you have the economical machines, small websites. If you want to host, WordPress websites or PHP websites, you can use these machines, B series machines. These are burstable machines. They do not give you, they just give you moderate baseline performance. Okay. And these are the general purpose VM, any application you want to run. You will see the, on the hardware which they are running. You'll see all this information about the series. You have this DC series. You have this E series. These are in-memory hyper-thread applications. So if your applications are more on, based on RAM, then you can do. So SAP HANA for B1 can be run on this, okay, but not for ECC or for other purpose. You can run only for test development purpose. You can do production. They should run on M series only. And you have F series. These are CPU optimized. If you have applications which are more towards cores instead of RAM, then you can use F series. Then you have G series also, which are storage optimized. Then you have high performance computing virtual machines. If your applications are like high performance gaming applications, then you can use that. And then you have M series for high memory optimized machines. If you are running SAP HANA for S4 HANA for ECC, then you can use these machines. Then you have N series GPU machines. If you want to run any GPU, right, graphic intensive machines. If you want, you can run this. They come with NVIDIA, Tesla, P40, P80, P100. You have various graphic cards which are available, NVIDIA's. So you can take all these series. It depends upon the the use case what you are trying. Generally, people will use D series, E series, and F series. Okay. If you come from a gaming company, if you are trying to host HANA, SAP onto cloud, there you will see people using M series. Okay. And if you are machine learning company where you've done lot of TensorFlow and all those things, algorithms running modeling, then people will use N series. Okay. If you're a gaming company, lot of people come to your game, then also you'll use the GPU. Okay. If you are a designing company where your users will log into your designing applications, then also at that time also you'll use the N series machines. Okay. It depends on the workloads. Okay. If you go through this page, you will understand what virtual machines are available for what purpose. Okay. So we'll just go and create a quick. We will create this CLI to a portal today. Tomorrow we'll create with the CLI. So I'll go to virtual machines. Okay, I'll not create in this. This will cost me. I'll go to my trial account. I am not good with this application. Just let me get my phone 1 second. So you can see I have I created a different resource group. Whenever I prepared for different exams, I have created those resource groups. You can see I have a different subscription. This is my Microsoft partner subscription. I'm from a Microsoft partner company, so I get Microsoft partner network. Microsoft partners get their own subscription. So I got this for training purpose. So what I'll do, I'll go to virtual machines. And I'll try to create a Windows virtual machine now. So I will select the resource group EZ103. I'll give this name as VM1. I am creating it in UseTS. I'll select the image, whatever I want to select. I have all these images available, which I want to, with which I can create a virtual machine. I will select Windows. Why so many Windows machines are? Why is it not giving a Windows machine? It will give me here only. So I am creating a Windows VM. Okay. If I select this, it will give me all the operating systems which are available. So I'm selecting Windows 2016 data center. And here I can select the available machine types which I want to do. If I click here size, so it will give me all the size which are available. As of now, I can select the core, minimum core, what I require. If I click all sizes, it will see all the machines which are available for me to create. Okay, which we talked about various different machines, right? If you want to see the cost, how much it's gonna cost you before you create the machine, I go to the pricing calculator. I select the virtual machine here. If I don't see it here, I can just type virtual machine here. So I am creating it in East US. So I'll go to East US. Okay. I am creating a Windows server. I am selecting a B series machine, I select 2 core 8 GB machine. So if I run it for 730 hours in a month, it will give me a cost of 4,442 paisa. So this is how it's going to cost me. Okay, this is about the VM. And if I go to the manage disk, and if I select, I'm selecting a standard HDD, 512 GB RAM, one disk, and the disk will cost me this much. So you can this total cost, it will cost me 5,841 rupees 0.91 paisa every month if I create this machine and run it for 730 hours. But sometimes people may run it for 300 hours only. If I run it for 300 hours, this will be the cost. Okay. So this is how you can see the cost. If I run a Linux machine also, you can see the cost. Linux will be cheap because it has selected Ubuntu. If I select a Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the cost will increase. Okay. If I select Red Hat for SAP with high availability, the cost will increase. So it depends. If I what I'm trying to do, you can do that. Okay. Each machines will cost you more. More number of RAM and more number of cores will cost you more. M series machines and this PC, you can see this is a 24 core and 448 GB RAM machine. This is 5,700 GB RAM machine. So this will cost you huge. Okay. If I run this for 730 hours, so this is costing me 24 lakhs. Okay, per month. Okay, this is the machine. Okay, it is 416 cores, 5,700 GB RAM machine. Okay, so I don't know who will use that. So, but you have this machine also available. Okay, and there's one more machine. It is 416 cores, but 11,400 GB RAM machine. This is costing you nearly 50 lakh rupees per month. Okay, if you are running for SAP. Okay, if you're running it for CentOS, it is costing you 1 lakh rupees down. So this is where you can see the cost associated with all the machines. Okay, so let's select a basic B series machine. I'll go with B2MS, which is 2 core 8 GB. You can see the core. It's 2 vCPU 8 core GB machine. I've selected that. Now I give the username. I'm giving it as VM1. Okay, VM1 and I'll give a password, a secured password, connecting it by RDP. Okay. Now I want to access this machine, right? So I have to allow the RDP port. Okay. If I do not allow that, I will not be able to access that machine. As of now, for administrative tasks, later on we can stop it if once we have our application server on or anything. Now, once you are done with the basic thing, you gave the name, you selected the resource group, under which resource group it will run. You gave the name to the VM, you selected the region. Do not worry about the availability options as of now. We'll go through it tomorrow. Okay, then we selected the size, we gave the username, and we have allowed the RDP port. We selected Windows. Microsoft Intelligence already took it as RDP. If you select Linux, it will take SSH. Okay. By default, Microsoft will ask you to pay more. So make sure you select this and select HDD. Okay. It will take HDD and you can do that. Encryption is always on. If you want to add more disk, you can do it. You can create a disk. Okay. Change it to standard HDD. You can select the disk size, whatever disk size you want to do, and you can click OK. So I selected a 128 GB standard HDD. Now I go to networking. We will come to this networking tomorrow. I have already a VNet created inside my AZ account. So it will take this subnet range. It will give me a public IP and RDP port is allowed. We'll talk about this in the networking session. As of now, don't worry about that. Then management, do you want to do boot diagnostic and all? As of now, I don't want to do. This will help you, capture serial console outputs. Okay, if you want to have activity logs of what's happening in your Windows environment and you want to see those activities in Azure, you have to click this on. This will create a storage account and all those logs will be copied to your storage account. Okay, but as of now, we are not doing that.
So that storage account will be chargeable, right?
Yeah, it will be charged. Yes, it will be charged.
So normally in corporate environments, enterprise environments, do they keep this on? Because
yes, they do it because storage cost will be very minimal, right? It will be like for 1 GB it cost you 1.3 rupees. So I don't think so that will be more lot for organization, but that is good practice to have that. Okay, so let's say it's 1000 GB is costing you this much. You can have locks for one. You can take 10 GB locks, and you can delete the lock every 1 month. So it is costing you only 14 rupees to have that 10 GB locks for 1 month. Okay, so it will not cost you more. Okay, so it is a good practice you have that. You should also have your OS guest diagnostics if you want to. Okay, these are the boot locks. This is the OS guest locks. Okay, Windows locks and the boot diagnostic locks. So you have this feature in Azure. Okay, and if you want the identity to happen using your Azure AD also, you can do this. Okay, Azure Key Vault service. And do you want to auto shut down or auto shut down this VM every day at a certain time? You can do that. Okay, this will only auto shut down. This will not auto start the machine. You have to go and explicitly start the machine. But at a daytime, as we said, right, your company is working only from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the evening. So you can go and you can select 10 p.m. every day, and this 10 p.m. every day the machine will automatically get turned off. Okay. And other thing we wanted when we created machine, we went to a policy, right, where we see that Azure backup should be enabled whenever we create machine. So we have to check this, and we have to select the recovery service vault and everything. We will understand this when we come to backup. As of now, we will leave this off. Okay.
So is it possible to start the machine with the CLI if we enable this one auto shutdown kind of thing in order to save?
Yeah, yes, you can do that with the serial console. You can do that, but it is better you do with the Azure portal only. It is very far easy. Okay. I'll show you auto start. If you want to install custom extensions, also you can do this. Let's say I want what you say. I want my machine to have Puppet agent installed already. I can do that. Or I want to install application server or anything. I can do that. Extensions also can also be taken. Okay. And you can, now it's about tags. About tags. If I want to give tags, I can give, and I can see that. Now I'll just review and create. Okay. Now it is showing me this machine will cost me 6 rupees per hour. Okay. I can see the cost here. Now I'll just go ahead and create this machine. So this machine will take some time to create. Anything in Azure will take some time, but the only thing is the validation should pass. Once the validation is passed, the VM is it will go to the resource manager portal, deployment resource manager portal, and it will show you that it will show you what are things are getting created. So it will create the VM, it will create the network, it will create the public IP. You will see all those things as of now. You wait for some time. So you see it created the disk first. Okay, the disk is created. Where will you load the OS? On the disk, right? So first it has created the disk. Then it created the public IP. Okay. Then it created the network security group, which allowed the RDP port. Then now it is created, it is creating the network again. It is creating the VM.
So Asif, I mean, like sometimes you don't require public IP, right? I mean, for internal purpose, if at all we are using for just for internal purpose, can't we do that necessary to have a public IP for each and every machine?
It is not necessary. Sometimes most of the time, all the times, let's say you're using this Windows server and an application server for your .NET application. So you will have it behind a load balancer, right? At that time, you will not give the public IP to that VM. You will give the private IP only, and you will bring that VM behind a load balancer. Okay. So it is not necessary that you always give a public IP, but in our case, we have to RDP to that public machine, right? So we will only able to do RDP if it is having a public IP. In the other cases, what we will do, we will have one public VM, and the normal VM will create without the public IP, and we will use a jump host to do RDP into that. So it depends on the requirement what you have. But you can create a VM without public IP also. But in our case, we will not be able to access that VM if we do not give public IP, because we have to do RDP, right? So the resource is going on. You can see the deployment is in process. So the deployment to resource group AZ103 is in progress. So it will take some time, like 5 to 10 minutes to install that VM. Okay. So once the VM is there, you can see that VM created here. So it has created the VM. Now it has assigned the public IP also. Okay. And it is created in this VNet. So now the resource is deployed. So if I click that resource, you can see it will come into this. You can go from virtual machines. I click this VM1 we have created. And you can see that, this VM is created. I have this public IP. It is a Windows operating system. This is of this size. It is created in this resource group. This is my subscription ID. This is my subscription name. And you can see this, you can see about the properties of that VM. It is a 2016 Windows 2016 data center. And it is of this size again here. You see the private IP and the public IP. And you can see auto scaling is there. It is not there. Extensions, no. You can see the disk. Is it an Azure Spot instance? No. You can see the monitoring. If you want, what is the CPU utilization? As of now, there is no utilization. Okay. Capabilities, you see backup, disaster recovery, logs, auto shutdown. Nothing is configured as of now. Okay. But you have all those options. You can configure it. Okay. And you have, now you can give access to this virtual machine again at the resource group level. You can tag it. You can see the networking. We had that network. It is under this network. Okay. This is the network interface card. This is the Azure network VNet which we created. And you can see the ports, the traffic which is allowed inbound. You can see the traffic which is allowed outbound. You can see all these things. Okay. You can see the disk associated with that. You have 2 disks. I created 2 disks. You see the size of the machine. Okay. You see everything. I can say, I can resize the machine from here. I can do anything. Okay. I can see the security. I have nothing enabled as of now. If I want to do auto scaling, I can do that. Availability, I can set it as of now. Continuous delivery, if I want to do, I want to configure this as a testing environment using Azure DevOps, I can do that. This is Bastion, this Bastion, Azure Bastion used to do RDP. If your machine is not having a public IP, they only have private IP, you can RDP using Azure Bastion. Okay. You have all this about the virtual machine. Okay. And as I have Azure Active Directory plan to, I see the identity also here. I want to manage the access to this machine with my Azure AD. I have this also assigned here. Okay. If you do not have Azure AD Premium plan to, you will not see this. Okay. And I can see the insights, alerts. We'll come to, when we come to monitoring, you will see all about this. And you can see the resource health also, the boot diagnostic, what we talked about. We have not configured this. That is the reason you are not able to see this. But if you configure this, you'll see. Let's say you forgot the password and you want to, you made a changes, but no, you have not done it. Then you can use it using the serial console also. Okay. And you can reset the password. You forgot the password of your VM. You can reset the password also here.
What is the use of serial console?
Let's say you what happens right now, once we created, we put a firewall rule, okay, but we did not allow it for the RDP access. Okay, so we were trying to do RDP, the port was blocked from the VM, inside the VM. Okay, so it was not allowing us to do RDP. So we thought now we have to delete this machine and we have to create the new machine. But with the serial console, you can log into the VM and you can do the firewall setting changes. Okay, to allow access. This is done when your access to VM is stopped. Okay, so instead of deleting that VM and having the VM again, you can use the serial console. Okay, we have, for this to happen, you should click and enable boot diagnostic. If your boot diagnostic is not there, you will not be able to do that.
So the interface of this will be similar to CLI.
Yeah, CLI, yes. If you go to this Windows Server serial console, so it will be like this. And it will be like this. So you'll have this console, Windows Server console here, so where you can do the settings and you can allow. It will be like just similar to this.
Oh.
Okay. So now we'll just RDP to this.
So the commands are same as CLI only, right?
Yeah, it's same as CLI. So it's RDP. So it's RD. I'm doing the RDP using the public IP. So now the Windows server is on, which is running on Azure. So this is the VM. So it's the Windows Server VM. I hope you guys can see the VM, right? You guys can see the VM, right?
Yes, Asif.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
This is the VM. So now you can start doing your activities with the Windows. So we created the VM, okay? No activity is done. You can see the activity log here of this VM also. You created a virtual machine, and it is there 6 minutes ago we created this virtual machine for this resource group. So you have the activity logs also here. So you can stop the virtual machine from here. So when you stop the virtual machine, so this public IP will be lost. So you should not do this. So what you will do, you'll go to networking. You'll click this public IP. Okay. You go to properties, configuration, and you make this IP static. So even if I stop this machine, you will still have this public IP. Okay. So every time if you do not make this static, you keep it dynamic. So Azure will change the public IP address every time. So you make sure you do this static if you are in the production environment. This is the first thing you have to do once you create the virtual machines. And you
is there any cost factor in dynamic and static as well?
One IP is free. Okay, it comes with the virtual machine cost. If you're adding more IPs, then it will. If you're having more than one network interface card to that machine, and you are giving public IP to that, then the second IP will be charged.
Okay. No, I mean, if at all we are changing from dynamic to static, then would that be
one IP is free of cost.
Okay.
So one IP will not cost you anything. If you have more than one IP, more than one network interface card, and that network interface card is having more than one IP, one public IP, then you will be charged.
Okay.
So you are changing. I can stop this VM. Now you see I do not get that error stating that. So I'll stop this VM.
For that VM for doing an RDP into the VM. Instead, like, can we keep it as a dynamic IP and then just do an RDP based on the machine name or something?
You can do it on the DNS name. I have stopped the machine. Let me go to the IP address. So you can have a configuration created for the DNS name. You can create a DNS name label, and with this DNS name label, you can do the RDP. Yeah, you can do this.
So we can just, so in this way, it will be easier for us to go with the DNS name rather than go with the static.
Yes, you can do that. Yeah. You have that option as well. So the VM is stopped now. So it's in stop state. So now when you stop, you are not charged for the VM, but you will be charged for the disk associated with that VM. Okay. So these disks are charged because disks are not charged. They are also charged per hour, but you cannot stop the disk usage, right? So you will be having your data. So this will be charged for you whole 1 month. Okay. But the VM cost will be calculated on hourly basis. Okay. If you do not want to be charged, you can just go and delete this VM. So this will delete everything. Okay, I do not have a resource, so this VM is getting deleted. So after some time, this VM will also be gone. So it is, you can see all of. So in a similar way, you can also create VMs for Linux. Okay. So I will do that same in the resource 3, and I'll call this at my Linux VM1. I can call this VM2. Okay. And you can select Ubuntu or anything, and you can select the same GB. Or for Linux, Linux is very, even 1 core GB machine will also be okay for Linux. I'll select B1S, 1 core 2 GB RAM machine. And this will give you, you have 2 options. You can generate the public key, private key using PuTTY or any other tool, or you can do the SSH using password also. So I'll just do it using, it will not allow you to give password as admin. Okay. You can select as VM2 admin. This will allow. There are certain reserved words for usernames. Okay. Now you see the outbound in public inbound port is SSH because we selected Linux here. So it has by default taken port 22. I'm going to networking. It is taking the same network, same subnet. And if someone asked me whether you want to give public IP or not, you can select none, and it will not create the public IP. Okay. But in case we want to create, and the port 2022 is allowed. So I'll just quickly go from here. The other thing, you can have extensions also. You can have that bash commands, to install and upgrade. You can have those commands extensions here, and you can, whenever the VM is created, those commands will run automatically. You can tag them if you want. You can create. This will validate and it will create the VM. And once it's created, it will give you the charge of how much validation is passed, and it will allow you to create. You can create that VM, and you can directly connect using SSH once it's created. So guys, this was about virtual machines. Tomorrow we deleted that virtual machine, right? So that's the reason you do not say virtual machine here. So soon you will have virtual machine VM2 here. And if I go to activity log, you see deployment is in progress, and you will see my deletion activity. Virtual machine got deleted. These are all JSON scripts. If you are well versed with JSON, then you will be very well versed with the automation. Okay. So this will end the day here today. So I would really encourage you guys to go ahead and create the virtual machines. Okay. This deployment is in progress. So you are creating an Ubuntu server. So it created the storage account. Okay, we applied boot diagnostic there. So it has created the Azure storage account also. Okay, so I'll just cancel this. We'll not create this to save cost. So any questions still here, guys, from the today's session? So you see, I created this VM. This got created, but it is not created.
I think one doubt over here. After creating up the VM, if at all I want to configure a backup for this VM, would I be able to configure backup, or else like?
Yeah, you can do. You can take snapshots.
Group itself.
Yeah, you can take snapshots. You can use any other third-party backup provider. You can use Azure Backup Service. Azure Backup Service, you can take a backup into a different location. We will cover that in the last day of our the training. We'll learn about disaster recovery and backup and all those things. So at that time we can use this VM. We can configure backups from here directly. Okay. We'll have because we created this machine without the backup service, right? So you have this backup option also here. You can select, you can create a recovery service vault, and you can have backup. You can have DR in place. You can, replicate this machine.
Will this get created to the complete resource group, or it's only for this VM?
Backup and this DR is only for the resource. It is not for the resource group.
Okay.
But you can create a policy on resource group. So whenever anyone create a resource in that resource group, they should have a backup in place. That policy can be created. So whenever they try to create a VM without backup, it will not allow them to create. I hope you got my point.
Yeah.
So there is a service called Azure Site Recovery, which is a disaster recovery service from Azure. We will cover this. You can replicate your on-premise environment, Hyper-V or VMware environment. You can have a backup DR on Azure with this. There was a great tool, this is just an additional information. AWS is very, they bought that tool. There's a tool called Cloud Endure, okay? This is an additional information for experienced persons who are already aware of AWS. There is a tool, this tool will help you replicate even physical environment. This was available for all the clouds previously, but AWS has acquired this tool. So now it is only available for AWS. So this will even replicate your on-premise environment. If you are on physical machine, this will replicate your physical environment also. You don't get worried, don't worry about this. I just gave that information for experienced persons.
Asif,
So guys, yeah.
Do we have Azure Log for user level? Can we apply that?
What do you mean by
Azure Log? Like for a person that a user can only like modify the things in the resources, not delete it.
I hope someone like from our class should answer this. How can we achieve that, guys?
Activity log?
No. Activity log will only, you can see what is happening. But my brother's question was, no, you want to restrict a user from deleting only a single user, not whole resource group, only a single user. How will you do that? Anyone can answer?
Through IAM role.
Yes, correct. You do that through IAM role. So you give them only reader role or contributor role. Reader role, so they will only see, but they will not be able to modify or delete to that user. So you go to that resource, whatever resource you want them to access. I'll go here. I don't know whether I have any resource here. Okay, I have a sync service running. I have a file share running here. I will not change that. Okay, I'll go here. I have the site. Okay, I go here to the resource. This is a resource storage account. I go. I give them what role I should give them?
Read only.
Yeah. So what read only should I give them? Read only of what? So I will select storage. So you see storage blob reader. So I give them this role. They'll only see the blob when they log in. They'll not see anything else. They can only read it. They will not be able to do any changes. So if you click here, allows read access to Azure storage blob contents and data. They can only read it. They will not be able to do modify or delete or do anything. Okay, that use specific user. There are a lot of roles which you guys can, if you virtual machine, if you want to learn about virtual machine, you have this virtual machine contributor role. Because I am in storage account, it is not giving me any role here. But if I go to resource group, and if I go to IAM access role, and I try here. So you see there are a lot of roles associated with virtual machines. First one, user login, administrative login. View virtual machines in the portal and log in as administrator. You can log in as administrator to the machine. Okay. Contributor lets you manage virtual machine but not access to them. Okay. You can manage them, but you will not have access to them. Administrator can access them. User can only read them. Okay. Log in as a regular user. You have these roles. You can see if you want to see other roles like for virtual network, you can see the networking roles also. Networking roles are also there. So you have many roles which you can see. So every service has their role. You know, you have log analytics. When you come to monitoring, we'll see this. So you have the log analytics role, contributor role. You have management group reader role. You want from your CEO, you want them just to read. You have that role. You have security admin role, security assessment contributor role. This is legacy. This means this will go off. Okay. So these are the roles. Any other question, guys? I will just delete these management groups. So why I'm unable to delete this group? Can anyone let me know?
Subscription in there?
There's a
Yes.
subscription in it.
Yeah. Yes, I have the subscription in management group. So that's the reason it is not allowing me to delete. But let me delete this. So now if I want to delete, I have to move this subscription to the root tenant. So now I am going to the moving this to root tenant. Now it is in the root. Now I can delete this. So I deleted the inside subgroup and I'm going to delete this as well. It will allow me to delete. I have this inside, right? So it is deleting that. Once it is deleted, I can delete that management group also, the parent management group also. So this group will also be deleted. Okay. So yeah, so I do not have any management group. I just have subscription. So I just want this website of mine. I just created a small website. Is hosted on storage account. Okay. So this website is storage on storage account. In this is the storage account I have created. We'll learn about this the next week, how we can create a static website. So this is a static website which I have hosted on the storage account. You will see this is not secure because we are not using SSL or content delivery network. But if we use this, this will also be HTTPS secured. Okay. Okay, guys, we'll end the class here. So do let me know if you guys have any questions. You can just post it in the WhatsApp group. We can or connect tomorrow. Tomorrow we will learn creating virtual machines using this Azure CLI. Then we will